Hello, everyone. Those of you tuning in for our guest today will know exactly where that came from. The silent majesty of a winter's morn, the clean, cool chill of the holiday air, and an idiot in his bathrobe emptying a chemical toilet into your ears right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the QTR Podcast, Holiday Edition. Boozers, degenerates, stock market gamblers, drifters, just people out on the street. Welcome home. You'll always have a place here with me at the QTR Podcast. Well, what do you even say about this podcast we're going to do today, folks, aside from... Okay, now I'm ready. Ladies and gentlemen, how the fuck is everybody? Welcome to the QTR Podcast. Sup, fools? This is the QTR Podcast. Today is April 26, 2020. Nobody I'd rather have on the show today than Mr. Peter Schiff to talk about basically the entire world, all hell breaking loose on financial markets and capital markets. I'm back from Vegas. What's going on, fools? This is the QTR Podcast. Today is, I don't even know what day it is. Hello, fools. Stock market degenerates, alcoholics, gamblers. How the hell is everybody? Everybody having a good day? Fantastic. Ooh, did I say conspiracy theorists? You're welcome as well. It's May 7th, 2020. This is the QTR Podcast. Oh, the stock market's at all-time highs. Everybody should be celebrating. What's going on, huh? Sunday morning? Having a nice little coffee? Maybe getting settled in? Maybe just waking up? Cleaning the shit out of your eyes? Ready for a nice little Sunday? Maybe with your family? Maybe you'll go to brunch? Well, boom, motherfuckers! It's 5:45 a.m. when we're recording this at the QTR household. What is up, fools? This is the QTR Podcast. Welcome to everybody. It is March 12th, 2020. The market is getting shellacked. The public is finally starting to realize, with me and a lot of my Twitter followers realized weeks ago, which is this coronavirus is going to be a problem. If you are a new listener, or maybe perhaps you've just been in a whiskey-induced coma over the last 2 years, by the way, that's fine. We don't judge people here on this podcast. Ding, ding, ding. Listener-supported radio. See, I stole that shit from NPR. What's up, motherfuckers? I did not steal that from NPR. This is the QTR Podcast. In case you were wondering if you were listening to NPR or not, the answer is you are not. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing my absolute best to book the show and do all the administrative shit at the same time. But every once in a while, you gotta just throw your hands up in the air and say, fuck it. You know, just go have a drink. God damn, it is nice to be back. It is August 15th, 2019, and this is the QTR Podcast. Sup, fools? This is the QTR Podcast. Welcome. Today is April 16th, 2020. Isn't that special? Sup, fools? This is the QTR Podcast. Today's March 17th, 2020. It's St. Patty's Day. Hey, shit day to live in Boston, huh? Fucking Tom Brady's leaving and all the bars are closed. Merry Christmas to you guys up there. Geez, it's gonna be a tough one. For me, it's an easy one. I'm doing what I always do, which is sitting at home and just having a drink by my lonesome. It feels great. I don't have to listen to anybody's bullshit, and all the alcohol's readily available. I don't have to wait for a bartender. I gotta tell you, this lockdown is doing wonders. Today, folks, you know why? Because we got motherfucking Sang Lucci in the house. It's October 22nd, 2019, and we got motherfucking Mark Spiegel in the house. Financial degenerates. What's going on? This is the QTR Podcast. I am QTR. It is Halloween. And on this Halloween, I would like to remind you that Edgar Allan Poe drank so much that the front of his face actually fucking fell off his head. Don't want to hear about your failures? Not fucking interested. Do it elsewhere, folks. Your research, that is. Because I guarantee if you do listen to me, you do listen to my guest, you do listen to this podcast, you will fail in the markets and you will fail at life. Don't listen to this podcast. Rate it 1 star on iTunes and have yourself a nice day. All right. This episode of the best podcast in history is brought to you by my patrons, who, if you don't know who Pete Najarian is, I'll give you his biography, according to Wikipedia. None of this is financial advice. You should listen to nothing that I say, because if you do, you will pay the consequences, and by that I mean you are likely to be living in or around a dumpster for the rest of your life. And that's not a joke. I know it sounds like a joke. Financial fuckwits, how are you today? Everybody having a good day? Fucking great, grand, wonderful. This is the QTR Podcast. I'm happy to be here. You're happy to be here. Let's get on with the goddamn show. One of the reasons I like to do a 2-drink minimum is because I hope that you're so blacked out drunk by the end of this podcast that you can't actually remember anything I say, therefore absolving me of all liability and my guests. Thank you very much. I hold no licenses, no registrations, no Series 7, no Series 8, no Series 63, no Series 69, no Series 52, no Series 77, no shit. I don't know shit. Don't listen to anything that they have to say when it comes to finance. Make your own decisions. Live and die by your own sword. Do your research elsewhere. Take 2 alcoholic drinks to the face and let's get this fucking circus started. But today we got motherfucking Sang Lucci in the house. What's up? Get your mind limber. However you need to do that, whether it's you have a couple of drinks. Listen, whatever you do in the privacy of your own home is nobody's business but your own. Our recommendation on the podcast is a 2-drink minimum. Hello, fools. Is everybody enjoying oil's drop to negative $40 a barrel? That literally means for one futures contract on delivery, they will give you 1,000 barrels of oil and $40,000 at the same time. Here's 40,000 and 1,000 barrels. Happy fucking Thanksgiving. What are you gonna do with that? Let's get the damn show started, shall we? Instead of me rambling on like a lunatic. There is a mandatory 2-drink minimum for this podcast. I don't want to be much of a disciplinarian, but if you don't do it, bad things will happen. That's all I'm gonna say. I'd like to thank my listeners for pointing out on my Mark Spiegel podcast last time that I said I was gonna have him back on. Like I didn't know that. Of course I knew that. Of course I said I was gonna have him back on. And of course he's here today. But you guys kept reminding me over and over and over that I said I would have Mark Spiegel on over and over and over to go over Tesla earnings. So I got Mark Spiegel on today. So everybody can shut the fuck up. Finally. That's it. I'm not even interested in what he has to say. I'm just doing it to quiet the noise. Anyways, this is the QTR podcast. With that being said, try to take a couple of drinks to the face while you're listening to this podcast. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to put you in a better mood. It's just going to make life a little bit more bearable in general. What's up, fools? This is the QTR podcast. How the hell is everybody? Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa. Whatever you're into this holiday season, I'm stoked about it. Basically, let's sit around and just have a drink together and stuff our fat fucking faces, which is what we've been doing. Welcome to the podcast. This is not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is not life advice. Folks, I don't know how anybody expects anyone to give them financial advice in a capital markets and financial system and a global economy that has been rigged so badly that nobody has any control of anything, and even the puppet masters at the central banks don't know what they're doing. Okay, you have to have some kind of baseline to perform analysis, and when Neil Kashkari and Steve Leisman are your baseline, you might as well not even waste time trying to analyze anything and produce any kind of advice. Just sit back and take a couple more swigs of the whiskey, because ladies and gentlemen, everything is fucked and heading in the wrong direction regardless of what you guys do. With that being said, happy fucking holidays. Let's get started. Hey kids, is everybody ready to have some fun with fucking economics? This episode of the worst podcast Charlie Gasparino has ever heard is brought to you by this right here, $9. I'm breaking my no drinking on Tuesday rule with a $9 bottle of brandy. Folks, it's this simple. All I do is get things wrong. Just ask any of my critics on Twitter. Hello and welcome to another episode of Financial Shit Show at the Fuck Factory, Volume 9000. 2 rules to the podcast. 1 is smash alcohol into your facial cavity while we're doing this podcast because I don't know how to make finance interesting otherwise. Do your research elsewhere. Fools, if I show up dead or missing or committed quote-unquote suicide or something happens to me or I stop doing podcasts all of a sudden or I disappear from Twitter in the wake of publishing this podcast today, just know that it's not a coincidence and something has probably gone horribly wrong. What is up, fools? Today is April 2nd, 2020. This is the QTR podcast. Hello, welcome, bienvenue, welcome in. Not an SEC registered anything, not a FINRA licensed anything, don't have a series anything. I've got a series 0, which means I know precisely fuck all. With that being said, let's start our discussion about finance. Finally, this podcast has a 2-drink minimum. Most of the people that listen to my podcast have probably taken care of that by this point, but if for some reason you're new and this is your first podcast, what we do is we take 2 drinks, we slam them into our facial cavities, and then we open up our ears and we listen. Trust me, it makes me sound better, it makes me sound more intelligent, and if you ever meet me in person and you have 2 drinks before that, it makes me look better. So if you're gonna be around me in any way, auditory, visually, you're gonna wanna have some alcohol in your system. It's that simple. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got so involved talking to other people that I forgot how genuinely annoyed I am with everything. So, fucking ta-da, here I am. Let's get fucking started, ladies and gentlemen. I can't read names for the rest of my goddamn life. And you'll be required to sign sworn testimony and have that notarized. Send that into the podcast if you're going to be listening, that you have fulfilled your 2-drink minimum requirement. Back to what we were talking about. Oh, and also, I do recommend a 2-drink minimum. It's 11 o'clock at night. I imagine most of you guys are plastered to the face already. If you are, congratulations. You're a degenerate. And if you aren't, congratulations. Well, really have no clue what you're doing with your Wednesday night then. All right, this fucking trip down the rabbit hole is brought to you by my patrons. I was going to do this podcast completely sober with a cup of tea, but I ran downstairs and got a bottle just in case things get fucking weird today. Folks, I wasn't even planning on doing a podcast today. What do you think about that shit? But you can thank the Mensa candidates over at the website Electric for putting out an article here on Jim Chanos. Good fucking morning. It's Saturday morning. Hello. Are you guys all having a good day? Great. I just spent the last hour trying to get my podcast shit to work because everything was working great for the last couple of months. And then all of a sudden you wake up one morning, you get a guest on the line, you get your coffee brewed, you get ready to go, and the thing just decides to take a huge shit. And that's pretty much my life right now. Before I even get started, I want to address the fucking nerds on the internet, on the iTunes podcast, whatever the thing is called, leaving all these 1-star reviews. I love you guys. Keep them coming. I'm going to take your 1-star reviews someday, put them all on a giant poster, and then I'm going to buy advertising space in Times Square and put them all up there just so the whole world knows how fucking important your guys' opinions are. So keep them coming in.